Good evening. This is America's Mayor live from Palm Beach, Florida. Live on a very active day, very active afternoon. The president, as you know, has taken the steps to dissolve as much as he can of the Department of Education. So now, basically, Linda McMahon will be working on the transition of that power to the states, and also hiring enough people to make sure that the mail is redirected for a year or so to the right places. But hopefully the federal government will have nothing to do with the education of our children, because since they have, it's sunk into the gutter. And of course, that all came about because of the action and the activities of the Communist Teachers Union. Just like in latter days, the Communist Teachers Union made certain that our kids stayed out of school for an extra year so they could fall behind the Chinese and the other communist countries. The head of the teachers union was outside protesting when Linda McMahon was speaking. I know her very, very well. She's a very, very refined woman. Do we have any video of that extremely understated, very, very classically nice, decent American Randy Weingarten? Yeah. I just want you to see what she wants our children to be like. And they tell us, oh gosh, they don't want the children to be like Donald Trump. Yeah, right. Yeah. But let them be like this thing. Yeah. This is the head of the teacher. This is the woman who, if your child was penalized by being left out of school for too long, this is the woman who did it. She's the mother of that. She's the mother of keeping kids out of school so the teachers don't have to work. Oh, and they got paid. Uh-huh. Teachers are working so hard now. They're working like, 3-4 hours a day.
Let's and when they cut half the people, it's like evisceration by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. So you want to do this? Have the fight with us in Congress. Let's make sure we get the issues out there. I'm so mad. I'm spitting mad about this because it's hurting the people who can't vote. Children don't vote. Let's not take away their opportunity. And
yeah, like keeping them out of school for a year. Very classy, right? You just want your kid wouldn't you like your kid to be just like that? Talk like that, act like that, dress like that. Yeah, real model for Marxist. That's a modern Marxist female approach. This is the way modern Marxists want to approach anger, look horrible and scare you. Woman has an awful lot of guilt for what's happened to our kids. So let's start with what we started with last night. And it turns out, I don't know what's going on. The JFK papers. So I looked all through the newspapers. I couldn't find much about it. I went through the Times and I found one article in the Times about it. And the article in the Times has found a way to blame Trump. So first of all, if you go on the online edition of the Times, the first 8 articles criticize Trump. Not a single thing meaningful. But this one is the best of all. We've been waiting for the JFK papers forever. We're all trying to figure out if we'll cast any new light on anything. I'm trying to figure out, do they have the guts to go into any kind of investigation of the top suspect? They don't, by the way. And here's what the Times writes about it. Do you know when they released it? They released some Social Security numbers. And Trump did that on purpose. Well, they don't say he did it on purpose, but it was like the Social Security numbers were released. Okay, that's terrible. It shouldn't have happened. One of them has been my friend Joe DeGenova, who's a pal of mine, and I feel sorry for Joe. And Joe's angry, and he's right to be angry. But that's the story. That's it about the JFK papers. Kept undercover for generations by you guys. And it has nothing in it. I can't find anywhere that anyone investigated the top suspect, which makes it, to me, an invalid homicide investigation. If it were my police department and they gave me a cold case and they said, here's the investigation of the cold case, which we do. I'd go through it and I'd say, well, what jackass did this? The husband took out a $5 million contract on the wife a month before the wife disappeared. Oh, yeah, but we didn't want to investigate him. He's too important. Well, did you think you might not be able to solve the crime if you didn't? And you have to investigate him, because even if he didn't do it and somebody else did it and you charge somebody else, the defense lawyer is going to have a pretty good case that he did it. So you're going to have to be able to rebut that case. It is axiomatic among good homicide detectives. I don't see too many on television, I got to tell you. I don't. They don't know how to systemically investigate or think through a homicide or the steps you go through. You go through steps in investigating a homicide because if you don't, a good defense lawyer like me is going to rip you apart for not doing it. Like I just told you, the husband just took out a contract for $10 million. The wife disappears, and then you blame some kid who was in a storm with her and didn't do the right thing or whatever. And you don't find out if the husband paid the kid, and you just prosecute the kid. Well, the kid's lawyer is going to say bullshit. Well, who was the top suspect? Who's the top suspect in the Kennedy assassination? Who had the most to gain? Who had the $10 million life insurance policy? You think about that for a while, and we'll come back to it. Let me tell you, the big news, though, for the New York Times is that the Trump administration inadvertently gave out some Social Security numbers. Really bad. It also gives you an idea that the papers contained nothing, which means there's something there. We still haven't had anything that shows me that they did a professional investigation. And I fear we're creating the same thing with the assassination attempt, the two of them with Donald Trump, unless Cash can revive it. If you don't do it right at the beginning, it is very hard to do it right later. Every minute you lose is a minute in favor of the murderer. Excuse me if I get the percentages a little off. I haven't done this in a while, but I did an awful lot of homicide investigations during the commission case and other RICO cases. If you don't solve a homicide in the first 24, 38 hours, the chances of solving it go way, way down. It's very strange. They go way, way down, particularly for most police departments. I will tell you, for the NYPD, it doesn't change very much because, and please excuse the parochial pride here, there's nobody that investigates homicide like New York City homicide detectives. They are PhDs par excellence and should teach courses all over the country on how to do it. And when I had to do homicide as a RICO predicate in my prosecutions of the mafia, I worked with Judge Webster to allow me to make New York City detectives equal partners with the FBI in investigating, because I needed the FBI's national and international intelligence and their expertise into the mafia, which was quite substantial, because back then it was a real law enforcement agency. And I needed even some of their international ability to work with Italy. But I needed two things from the NYPD. First, I needed homicide detectives because the FBI, particularly back then, didn't do many homicides. So the New York City detectives are way ahead of them in terms of experience. But number two, except the ones that came from New York, they didn't know New York, New Jersey, where, the guys from New York grow up, half these guys are their friends. They don't like them, hopefully. But you can feel them. You know them. I knew them. I could feel them. So homicide investigation 101, Kennedy assassination 0. Failed. You have the guts to look at Johnson. And I can't help but believe that he put that commission together so that he'd be excluded as a suspect. I don't know if he did it. I do know that the failure to investigate his doing it makes it even stronger a possibility. Ukraine. Well, things are starting to move a little in the other direction now. You know, at the beginning, he put pressure on Zelensky to say, okay, we'll do a ceasefire. I thought Zelensky missed a tremendous opportunity at the beginning when he might have had Putin ready to do it, at least on slightly better terms than now. I do believe he did. But Zelensky's taking time gave Putin a chance to try once again to take Kursk back. Now, he might have failed in doing that. And if he did, we might have a complete peace right now. But third time he went after Kursk, he was enormously successful. I think he did it. Frankly, I think the first two times Putin made a big mistake. He decided he didn't want to waste Russian soldiers on taking Kursk back because he wanted to continue to grab more and more of Ukraine. So we used about 10,000 North Koreans who were useless. They didn't know where the hell they were. They didn't know what they were shooting at. They couldn't speak the language, and among other things, they're children. They've never been out of North Korea, and they've never listened to a television station or a radio station or an internet or except one in their entire lives. And the Russian soldiers were flipping mad that they had them there. They were shooting each other and occasionally shooting Russians as much as they were shooting Ukrainians. Well, somehow they used some North Koreans. They probably trained them, but they took over themselves. And in the days created by the argument, Putin made a big last gasp attempt at Kursk, and he took it. And he took away from Zelensky the one bargaining chip that he had. I mean, he had a little piece of Russia. He could have traded that for something, because it would be hard for Russia to ask for it back and not give something back. Now there's nothing they can give back. And Putin is starting to make it tougher. They did agree not to hit electrical plants and energy plants, but that's as much for Russia's benefit as it is Ukraine, because Ukraine's done a pretty good job of hitting their electrical plants here and there. Not as good as they have done. So that's a slight benefit for Ukraine, but not a complete loss for Russia. But the president has now done several things that you got to read carefully to see, but they're enormously important. They just put out from the White House a really good story about a great conversation between Zelensky and Trump, showing that they're coming together. Yes, he restored the military arms, which were only delayed by, maybe 2 days, 3 days, but he's also increased them. He's increased the lethality of them and the scope of them. He's also supported them in their ability to have to continue to fight and protect themselves, and said they have to do that. So I would say, without upping the heat, he's upped the reality of the pressure on, for example, Putin insisted that there be a complete cessation of military aid to Ukraine. Trump didn't agree to it, and Trump has increased it. That's like, okay, you want more Russians to die? I don't want to see more Ukrainians die, but Vladimir, you lost more people than the Ukrainians did. We're going to give them even more arms. That'll probably mean you're going to lose more Russians than they do. That's not going to look good in Russia. And I got a big mouth. I'll let everybody know what the real numbers are. Here's the big one. The U.S. is now negotiating for taking a major stake, in the Ukrainian nuclear power plants. You hit one of those power plants, you might be hitting American property, Vladimir. You see what he's doing? He's having America invest there, so you make a mistake, you got a real problem. So you're a crafty guy, Vladimir. He's just as crafty, maybe more. So I would say, you got what you wanted, cut it out, start negotiating, Be willing to give up a little piece of territory. You and I both know what he wants, what Trump wants. Zelensky was too stupid to figure it out at the beginning. Be willing to give up some of that. You can keep your land bridge to Crimea. You can keep a nice little chunk of what was, to a large extent, Russian-leaning Ukraine anyway, but you can't have any more. And you're going to have to live with security guarantees and the presence of soldiers from Europe to make sure you don't take any more. And then your people will stop dying. Now, here's the problem, and this goes for Zelensky too. Neither one of these guys really gives too much of a damn if their people die. I mean, Zelensky's been carrying on this thing for a year and a half with no win possible, just getting his people killed so the money flows in. He had absolutely no feeling of urgency about getting peace. I mean, when he had that argument with the president, he went right outside and said he expected the war to go on for a long time. Now, how do you say that about your own people when they're dying left and right? And you have no chance of victory. But that was true for over a year and a half. I detected in that whole conference, there's only one group that cares about the Ukrainian people. It's the Americans. Putin doesn't care about the Ukrainian people. He wants to kill them. He doesn't really care about his own people. Zelensky marginally cares, but if they have to die so we can get more money, it seems perfectly all right. I mean, that's the way it's been with Russian oligarchs forever, and he's part of that. The guy's a crook. Oh, maybe I should be more specific. He's been made by a crook. He's surrounded by crooks. He protects crooks. He's protecting some of the biggest crimes of the century, holding on to it for extortionate value. I don't know who's going to extort now. He can't extort Trump. And I wish Trump would also say to him, part of this is you got to put out all your files on all the American politicians, on Biden. I want to see all the rest of them taking money from you. We know about Biden, but show me all the rest of them, because they all should be in jail and the hell out of my country. And if we're going to reestablish Ukraine as a great country, first thing we got to do, sure, we got to put the Russians under control, but it's not going to do any good if you remain as corrupt as you've been. Ukrainian people aren't going to benefit. I mean, you've raped them left and right, all you guys, your Kolomoisky friend and the other ones you're protecting. So that would be a very, very positive thing to do and maybe shake up crooked Europe a little bit. So it sounds like Vladimir broke his word, but we can't tell. He targeted the infrastructure of a city, Sloviansk. You know, it's in the Donetsk, and it's 100,000 people. And according to Zelensky, he was attacking, not Zelensky, Andrei Yermak. This would make it only a 50% possibility it's true. Andrei Yermak is a professional Zelensky liar. I had the opportunity of meeting with him, and he lied to me completely about what they would do and not do. So I don't know where he gets this guy from. But Zelensky says Russia is attacking civilian infrastructure and people right now. And Ukraine said Russia launched 145 drones, 72 of which were shot down, and 56 of which were lost. So it sounds like Russians don't know what the hell they're doing with drones, if that number is right. They seem to be about as good with drones as Hamas. I wonder if that's true, though. See, you get these numbers from one or the other. Like 1 million Russians have died. I'm not sure 1 million Russians have fought. So I don't know, did they sneak into Russia and kill a bunch of Russians in the middle of the night? And then the Ukrainians say they've lost 60,000 troops. How can the Russians have lost 1 million and the Ukrainians 60,000 and Russia's winning the war? If that were the case, Ukraine would be occupying Russia now. What we fail to realize here is Russia is a very, very bad country with a very, not bad, both people, good people, the Russians and the Ukrainians. Neither one traditional friends of the United States. Not Poland, sorry. Both lived under totalitarianism forever. First the Tsar, then Stalin. Ukraine was an integral part of Russia, whether it liked it or not. Some of Ukraine liked it, some of it didn't. The reality is, from my point of view, at least in the Western world, one was always the most crooked, Russia, and the other was the second most crooked, Ukraine. And I think, for all intents and purposes, it remains that way. And who the hell can believe anything they say? I mean, so Zelensky declares martial law so he can stay in power forever. Sounds like he learned that when they were under Soviet control. So let's hope that the president's pressures that he's now putting on Putin will have an impact. I mean, there's more he can do, and I think he will. He wants peace, and he's given them the rope to hang themselves, but I don't think it's going to last for long. We'll be back after a short interruption.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Oh, excuse me. I'm getting my high. No, I am not an addict. Except for coffee beans. Welcome to America's Mayor Live. Usually I do this off camera before when I start the show, I start, welcome to America's Mayor Live. And I'm always upbeat and really happy after a full day of work and no sleep the night before, worrying about something or other that's going to happen with Russia or whatever. Here, watch. I'm going to show you what I do before. Only Ted, Stephen, Dr. Maria, and Rob have ever gotten to see this. So feel privileged.
Until you wake up in the morning.
Well, I drink it first, but then to really get it right.
But you got to smell the bag, right? You smell it first, make sure it's still got that fresh, which it always does. You've never encountered a bag that wasn't
I make sure it stays fresh.
fresh as can be.
Make sure it stays fresh. Make sure it stays fresh. Put it over here. Now I'm all ready to say, welcome to America's Mayor Live from Palm Beach. See what it does? Now, in order to enjoy Rudy Bold, Rudy Morning, or decaffeinated with no chemicals, the best beans in the world, Arabica. I'm telling you, the best beans in the world. Look at them. Can you do a close up on those? You want to put them on in your hand?
Other camera.
Whichever camera. Here. Look at these. Look at those beans. I mean, I'm afraid I'm going to spill them. There they are. There they are. All over the place now. There they are. We'll put them in the middle. So get your coffee. If you're having trouble because it's beans and you don't know what you're doing with beans and all this other stuff, all you need is a little machine. You can get it for about $30. Put it in the machine and you crush them. Machine that I have tells you how many cups you want. So I put in 4, 6, 8 cups of beans, crush them, take them out. Then I have a little coffee maker, and I put them in the little area for putting it in like this. Usually, you use a cone or a V-shaped little bag. Put them in there. Put them in. Put the proper amount of water in. Usually, it tells you exactly. Let's say 8. Press the button. Now, here's how you save time. I always used to have to take milk and sugar or sugar substitute. I couldn't stand the taste of the coffee. First moment I started doing this, even before Rudy's Coffee, with just regular, not as good coffees, I stopped it. Didn't need it anymore. Now with Rudy's Coffee, which is all Arabica. Arabica is the bean that is much more flavorful, almost no acidity. It's much, much better. 100% Arabica. This is medium roast, AM morning. This is, what is this one? Oh, this is morning coffee too. Well, we also have a bold. Now, there are people who prefer the bold. The idea is in the morning, you take the milder one. In the evening, you take the bolder one. How about the other way around since you want to go to sleep, right? How about the bold in the morning? Boom. Wakes you up. And then at night or late afternoon, when you're getting closer to time you want to go to sleep and you're afraid it's going to affect you, then you have the milder coffee, which is equally as flavorful, just a different kind of flavor. Or you can mix them. I do that. And you can even mix the decaffeinated with it. See, when you have them and you have your little thing, you can play. That's what got me. I went about 6 years ago. I started to play and I started to go crazy. I started to read up about it, and that's how I got these. So, and then there's a nice little story here about the mafia, if you want the bold one, or about what a nice guy I am, if you want the morning one, and if you want the decaffeinated one, I forgot. But the decaffeinated one has a very, very special advantage. A lot of decaffeinated coffees, they're separated the caffeine is separated with chemicals. Dr. Fauci wouldn't warn you this because he'd probably get money from the chemical companies to lie to you, but I would. I get no royalties like him. So we do it with water. Totally natural. There's nothing unnatural about any of this Rudy stuff. All natural, just like we're all natural. So I really do want to spend a moment showing you that picture up there. That is a new saint of the Roman Catholic Church. And I'm going to tell you his story. It's a very, very interesting story, but he's a new saint, and he is being displayed there in a very, very religious town in Italy called Assisi. Assisi is, of course, I think you're going to probably know right away. Assisi is the place where Saint Francis of Assisi came from. Saint Francis of Assisi was the founder of the Franciscan order. One of the people who spread Christianity the most in the Middle Ages into the beginning of the Renaissance. It's the Franciscan priests who converted a good deal of California and a good deal of Mexico, along with the Dominican priests. We don't want to leave them out, and the Jesuits. Although it was always a question of what religion the Jesuits were converting them to. Oh, please don't get mad at me, Jesuits. You know you screw around. It's good to see that there are still young people like this, particularly since we have so many young people that are problems, and just way too many that are problems. So this saint, who is displayed in the sanctuary of the Spoliation in the Church of Saint Maria Maggiore, Saint Mary Major, in Assisi. This was a 15-year-old boy who was a computer whiz. And what he did was develop a website, and the website documented Eucharistic miracles. He spent his very, very short life doing that. Carlo Acutis, that's his name, Saint Carlo Acutis. And he was British-born Catholic who created a website to document Eucharistic miracles, and he died of acute leukemia in 2006, on October 12th, 2006. In 2020, now to become a saint, there has to be an investigation of your life, that you led a exemplary life, in some ways spreading Christianity or spreading the Christian message. But then, and in an exceptional way. But then there have to be at least 2 miracles attributed to you. And his first miracle was in 2020, when due to an intercession, a person was cured. The person prayed to him and believes they were cured, and the doctors had no other reason to attribute the recovery except to the praying to Carlo Acutis. And he became a blessed then. You first become a blessed. The Pope made him a blessed in October of 2020. And then a second similar miracle, which was approved in May of 2024. And then he was made a saint. So that's a millennial. They describe it in the New York Post as a millennial saint. And that picture is from the New York Post. So you get the proper attribution of it. I think we mentioned on the other show at some length, but we'll just cover it here just in case you weren't watching it, and there isn't much to cover. The JFK files are, I mean, they do raise some questions, and as we go through them, we'll pick up. But the JFK files are tremendously disappointing from the point of view of they don't answer any of the questions as to why they were kept locked up that long, which makes me extremely suspicious. The New York Times doesn't even cover it until it covers as an opportunity to criticize Trump because the files were put out so quickly, they left some Social Security numbers, including, for some reason, the Social Security number of my friend Joe DeGenova, which is kind of nasty. I mean, Joe's the last person that should be hurt by the administration, but then again, it was inadvertent. And I mean, we hate to see that because, of course, we did spend a lot of time accusing the Biden administration of being amateurish, and revealing Social Security numbers in the JFK document is not exactly the sign of a very efficient operation, but we'll have to chalk it up to everybody makes mistakes, right? But there had to be more important things to cover about it. Now, the New York Times not doing that is either an example of they're covering up something we missed, it's very important, or they use anything as an opportunity to criticize Trump. Here's why I think it's not worth it. As far as I can tell from the quick review of it, and I'll go through it more and more, there's nothing to shed light on the person with the biggest motive, and that's Lyndon Johnson. You don't investigate a murder without a complete review of the evidence for and against the person with the biggest motive. You can't possibly solve a homicide professionally without that, because if you zero in on somebody else and you take them to trial, the first thing I'm going to ask for as a prosecutor for my homicide detective is show me how the husband who took out the $1 million policy isn't the one who did it, because the guy we're accusing says we got the wrong guy, and then he gives me all the things to prove it wasn't him. He didn't know it was taken out. Somebody else took it out. He was the one that was taking care of his wife. That money has actually been put in a trust for all the kids. He's not really going to get the money. So when they go into it, I've got the chance to zap them back, because all the defense has to do is create a reasonable doubt. One of the typical ways you defend a murder is to create reasonable doubt that somebody else did it. So when you do a murder investigation, if you are a professional, which largely means you're a New York City homicide detective, you cut off part of proving the guilt of the person is evidence against them, then you cut off the other possibilities. That would create reasonable doubt. Well, the person with the biggest motive creates a reasonable doubt that's big. There's one person with the biggest motive to kill him. Everything else is pretty much, from what you see here, speculation. And that's Lyndon Johnson. You could say Russia, because he went to Russia. Russia wanted to kill Kennedy because Kennedy embarrassed him at the Cuban Missile Crisis. Except it really was getting even with them for the embarrassment of the way in which Khrushchev treated Kennedy the first time he met him. He treated him like a child. Number two, it did seem to affect Khrushchev that they got so close to nuclear war. And they started right after that a fairly positive engagement in trying to reduce nuclear weapons. So unless the Russians were operating on several fronts, which is not impossible, I don't see Khrushchev as a guy with a great motive to kill Kennedy. He seemed to have worked out a working relationship with Kennedy that would keep the world existing, which, despite Khrushchev's meanness and whatever else, Khrushchev was not somebody who wanted to end the world. The second group is the mafia and Cuba sorted together. Well, the mafia's motive would have been the theory that they helped his father cheat in Chicago and expected nice treatment from the Kennedys. And then John appointed Robert Attorney General. The first thing he did is go after the mafia, particularly Jimmy Hoffa, who was going after the mafia. I can tell you that because I finally completed that and took the Teamsters away from the mafia. That was absolutely valid. And the mafia felt he had double-crossed them. They felt they had a deal with the father that if they helped fix Chicago with Mayor Daley, that he would go easy on them. Instead, he started going harder on them than any other president. There might even have been the issue of a confusion about girlfriends. Judith Exner because if legend is correct, legend again, not proof, but legend, Judith Exner, who was Sam Giancana's girlfriend, was also John Kennedy's big-time mistress, meaning frequent mistress as opposed to the many others that he had. And the most famous one being Marilyn Monroe, if true or not. I don't see them killing him over a girl. They don't kill anybody over a girl. They have plenty of that in the mafia, plenty of the guys cheating on each other. I mean, only one situation I ever saw where that happened. They didn't kill anybody. They sort of made the guy available to the FBI, and I ended up prosecuting him. It was Vito Genovese's brother-in-law who was cheating on his sister, and Vito told a couple of loan shark victims, it's okay if you testify. Not Vito, but Vito's people. And they put Jewel Ogazia in jail for 5 years to punish him for they made a case for us. But they don't kill over that. Because killing's too important to the profession and you don't want to water it down for personal important things, I guess. And Gotti, of course, violated that when he killed the guy who accidentally killed his son in a traffic accident. The mafia for a long time wanted Gotti out of the way. And then we have Cuba. There was a plot, which the document reveals, actually, but it has been revealed before. There was a plot by the CIA to kill Castro. It was clear that Robert F. Kennedy opposed the plot. I assume, although I can't find a document, that John F. Kennedy opposed the plot, if Robert F. Kennedy, because Robert F. Kennedy spoke for him. And Robert F. Kennedy was his intermediary with the CIA. After the Bay of Pigs, John Kennedy would not deal with the CIA any longer. So I just don't see Castro killing a head of state, a legendary president, and feeling secure it wouldn't fall down on him. You'd have to be really secure that the CIA could keep this secret and keep it, and that it could be fixed the way Lyndon Johnson fixed the Warren Commission. And I just don't think Castro would count on that. And Castro didn't have a great history. I mean, he did a lot of murder in his country. I mean, look, every one of the things I mentioned is a possibility. If you want to read a short book that lays it all out and comes to the position that none of them are correct, but any of them could be, read O'Reilly's book on the assassination of the president. He makes the case for each one of those possibilities and says none of them are proven. And I think he even sticks with the single gun theory. I don't remember that. But here's what I think. Now, forget O'Reilly. Here's what I think. Of course, I've investigated a lot more murder than O'Reilly. My number one suspect is Lyndon Johnson. And I don't feel this case is solved until you do a full investigation of Lyndon Johnson. I can't imagine how it wasn't an absolute corrupt fix not to investigate him. I can't imagine these intelligent men and some women sitting around saying, well, the guy with the biggest motive was Lyndon Johnson. I know it's embarrassing to investigate the president, but how the hell do we investigate this and we don't take a close look at Lyndon Johnson, where he was, what he was doing, look at all his phone records, tell him to come in for an examination, either before or after he was president. I mean, either while or after he was president. And once he left the presidency, I'd have gone after him again. Nothing. The number one suspect, hardly considered. Of course, he appointed everybody on the Warren Commission. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back to show that kind of corruption inheres in this government, and that the first president to do anything about it is the one that's getting ripped apart, and all of his people are getting ripped apart, like Elon Musk. So unfair. We'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live, this time without the assistance of my Arabica beans. But I'm getting a cup of coffee rather quickly because what happened was when I played that little game with you before and I smelled all those beans, I developed a taste for coffee. I know it's a little bit late to be having coffee, but I am not one of those people terribly affected by not being able to go to sleep when I have coffee. I just can't go to sleep. Once every 3 days. And then I sleep beautifully. And then I'm too awake. I know I'm going to get all kinds of letters now about what I should do, but sometimes I'm awake all night and I'm not even, I mean, sometimes, look, what I've gone through in the last 4 years, I have to admit there were a couple of times I stayed up all night trying to figure out what the heck they were doing to me and how to deal with it, how to defend yourself, whatever. But a lot of times I just stay up. I'm happy as hell. I mean, really, I'm thinking about really important, what I think are important things or not so important things. I'm being given a cup of Rudy's coffee. How do they get these mugs, Vanessa? Yeah. Rudy.coffee. You want to get one of these? You guys could go like this. Click, click in the morning. You and your girlfriend or boyfriend or friend or kid or whatever. You go, click.
Yeah, the coffee.
Here's what I would recommend in the morning when you have breakfast and you have the Rudy coffee. You say, you use it to remind you to say a little prayer. You don't have to make a big prayer. Thank God for this day, Jesus or God or whoever, you know. You're praying to God. When I say whoever you're praying to, I hope you're not praying to the moon or something. We're not big on pagan religion. But so God, let's say, dear God, thank you for this day. You want to do more elaborate prayers, please feel free. And then go with your friends and your family or whatever. Just with Rudy Coffee, say, thank God we're in America. God bless America. I'm telling you, oh, wow. This is terrific. Whoa. I know you think I'm exaggerating. I know you think I'm trying to sell you. I'm trying to give you something really good. Have 2 or 3 of those a day. It's not only going to hurt you, it's going to help you.
Mayor, would you be willing to release a how-to video in order to show the folks the proper way to grind the beans?
Yeah, I would do that. I also think we'll do that, and we'll do a more serious one, how do you investigate a murder? Or how not to investigate a murder, which is the way the FBI investigates a murder. How about the following? On the day after the murder, when you've been asked for some of the facts by the press, And sometimes it's very useful to release some facts to the press because you get help from the public. You tell the press, we haven't had enough time to investigate this case to release anything. And then you're asked, was there a third person or other people involved in this murder? And you say, no. That you give away the fact that you're fixing the investigation. Could we start with that one? Do not reject theories that you haven't had a chance to investigate, because it will show that you do not intend to investigate those theories. And therefore, you're corrupt, crooked, and shouldn't be doing the investigation in the first place. The moment that was said, every one of those agents should have been taken off the case. Out, gone. What are you so worried about? There's a second or third person involved. I mean, for something as complex like that, it's logical that there might be a second or third person involved. Oh, but I bet you'd have a real problem with Mr. Detective. They attempted to kill Donald Trump. Just kind of generally, if we just take it out of this big political thing, because we're never going to solve it if we don't treat it like a potential, murder case. Who has the biggest motive to kill Donald Trump? Come on. No kidding around, no politics. Who has the biggest motive to kill him? Well, was Dumbhead out of it by then? Was Dumb out of it?
Yes.
Okay, so then Kamala Harris and Dumbhead's whoever was the Wizard of Oz and his committee had the biggest, because there really was no president for 3.5 years. There was the Wizard of Oz and the committee that ran everything. They had the biggest motive to kill him. You say second biggest Iran because they announced it. I say second biggest China because they were afraid of him. But not just China. The China lovers and sucker-uppers, and of which there are many. Just a guy doing it? Yeah, could be. But you're never going to persuade me of that until you rule out the others. Okay. Protests. So Mahmoud Khalil has become a great hero. We're protesting for him all over the country. A federal judge this week has made it clear that he can't be sent out of the country. Although he's now switching his case because he doesn't like the heat he's getting, to New Jersey. But he won't switch his case to Louisiana, which is where he is, which shows he's judge shopping it to a place where he hopes he has an equal number of left-wing rulers like him. But in any event, I can't see how any judge can stop you from throwing out of the United States a non-citizen who has spent a vast amount of time protesting in favor of a recognized official terrorist group that kills Americans, that kills Americans' allies, and that is helped mightily by these protests that you do. Now, we don't have to prove that you committed a crime to throw you out of the United States. We just don't have to like you anymore or trust you. And if you are walking around here as with the privilege of being in the United States, and you don't have the right to be here by being a citizen, and you are protesting in favor of a group that teaches its children at the age of 2 to kill all Jews, including American Jews, and then as an afterthought, death to America. You tell me how any president of the United States doesn't have the right to pick you up by your coattails and throw you right the hell out. What kind of common sense country wouldn't approve that? Suppose you got a guy in your house. He doesn't have the right to be in your house. You let him in. And while he's in the house, he tells you that he's in support of this group over in the Middle East. And this group has vowed to kill your Jewish neighbor, and then also vowed death to you as an American. And you say to the person, get the hell out of my house. Somebody going to stop you from throwing him out of your house? Or if you kept him in the house, wouldn't they want to put you in the insane asylum or figure you were a traitor, like the former president? So, I mean, what's this judge doing? What's he doing? And he's not a bad judge, really. Sort of a lefty. But this is a common sense thing. This isn't righty, lefty. You know, Trump, I guess, throws it off for them because they can't think logically. When they hear Trump, something happens to the logical synapses in their brain that connect thoughts. So Israel now, Hamas, you really did a very, very smart thing. Really, really smart. You gave Israel a chance to go back and whatever you were able to put back together in Gaza, you know they're going to take it apart. Now, you did shoot a couple of rockets towards Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and you sent a lot of people to shelters. Big deal. They so far on the first night they killed 400, and that's the first of what? They're not going to stop, are they? You gave Bibi a second. You gave Bibi a second chance. You think he's going to not take advantage of that chance? And no time pressure on him this time because you're screwing around with President Trump. Meanwhile, you're giving President Trump plenty of time to wipe out the Houthis, who have also attacked Israel. But they also killed Americans, which, unlike our prior president, who was basically a functional traitor and didn't a traitor, Traitor, not trader like you trade stock. A functional traitor who didn't mind if you killed Americans, didn't mind one bit if you killed Americans. Who's that? Something is going on behind me. I think people are taking over. There are strange people taking over my podcast. It must be the Houthis. I always thought that was a funny name. It's not a dangerous enough name. Hamas, Hezbollah, I guess they've had so much association with murder. But the first time I heard Houthis, I thought they were like a rock group or something. They don't have rock groups.
Like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Is there such a thing?
Yeah, now he's named Darius Rucker. He goes by Darius. He's a country singer, but he used to be
the band.
A band called Hootie and the Blowfish.
Of course, that's why I thought it. Now, did he do it once the Houthis?
Interesting. I highly doubt it. But
before the Houthis came along?
Question. I think so.
Darius Rucker sounds considerably more serious than Hootie.
Yeah, I think he actually he doesn't like it when people try to call back to his previous identity.
Well, I mean, if I would, I don't. Do you know any of their songs?
I only want to be with you.
Well, could we have them sing it rather than you?
Hey,
no, the reality is, I might like them if he changed his name. You see, I don't like any of that music anyway, so I have to do it all based on politics. So I don't like Swifty.
Oh well, he's different than Swift, and he's got.
I don't like Swifty Pifty, and I like to say I never liked the music, but I never heard of music, so I really don't.
Yeah, it's not terribly great. Okay. It's not very complex.
But there were some I like. Whitney Houston had a great voice. I do know a great voice. Elvis Presley. I think Elvis Presley trained could have been a operatic baritone. When you hear him go deep, oh
yeah.
I'll tell you another one who could have been. It was Bing Crosby. If you ever heard Bing Crosby go very, very, when he croons like that, really deep, there's a guy trained could have been have a really great voice. Some of these people have really great voices. Some of them have no voice at all, and some are okay. So Swifty, I think is like marginal.
Right.
Even now, when I listen to her, I try to put aside my prejudices that she's stupid, and I listen to her. So I don't know, this Hootie guy who changed his name, I like it. Let's go do a little research. We may play a little of this music.
He has a beautiful rendition of Wagon Wheel. This is under the name Darius Rutger that a lot of people like.
Darius Rutger and who?
That's just.
Oh, is he solo now?
No Blowfish. No more Blowfish. The Blowfish.
Wasn't he in another? Wasn't he?
It was Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, but wasn't Darius Rucker in another band? Or
okay.
I think he was just.
Well,
he had a band, a very good band, but he was the show.
Hopefully, Darius Rucker will have gotten rid of the name Houthi, and Donald J. Trump and Bibi Netanyahu will get rid of the group, the Houthis, and Iran will be down to nothing between us and them, because on the way there, there's nothing between us and them. Because thanks to the man who should get the Medal of Freedom, Benjamin Netanyahu, for fighting America's war for a year and a half, everything's been taken down. All their protection. And if it was up to the traitor to the Jewish people, Chuck Schumer, or the traitor to the American people, Joe Biden, none of that would have happened. Because on every step of the way, Bibi was being urged to show restraint. In fact, the traitor Schumer went so far as to urge that Bibi not be reelected in a massive interference in the election and a complete betrayal of the Jewish people. You let them make the choice, Schumer. What are you, the big Jew? Boy, if you were the big Jew, there'd be nothing much left of Israel at this point, huh? You'd have a powerful Hezbollah. You'd have a powerful Hamas. You'd have Assad still there, and Iran wanted to blow it off the face of the earth. It's really better you're on the other side. Who the hell needs you? Well, the president is pitching Iran for a nuke deal. You know I'm uncomfortable with that, right? You know I love the president. I support everything he does. Maybe I'm a little over-anxious. I want to see their nuclear weapons gone. I don't want to wait another day. That's just me. Maybe that's why I'm on the administration. There may, in the fullness of time, there's going to be an explanation of why we're waiting. I think we've convinced the world that we wanted to negotiate. We've asked him 5 times, and he says no. One more time. I keep worrying he's going to bullshit us and say yes, because you can't. If he says yes, you can't trust him. I don't think he is. There's something missing there too, you know, in terms of strategy. Because, well, never mind. But I mean, there is something missing there. So there is another request for negotiation. 2 weeks ago, Trump told Maria Bartiromo that he sent a letter to Khomeini suggesting the two countries engage. We can't let them have nuclear weapons. Something is going to happen very soon. I would rather have a peace deal than the other option, but the other option will solve the problem. Well, it's pretty clear. Somewhere he gave him a 2-month deadline. We have to go take a look at when that 2-month deadline is up. You guys want to take a look at when the 2-month deadline is up with the reign of terror?
I'm looking at it right now.
Now, Israel is like been free to do what they want to do, and I suspect that this Hamas thing will be over in 2 weeks. And I don't know if we want to do it on our own in Yemen, meaning wiping out the Houthis in Yemen, because Israel has done so much for us. We want to do that for them. But you know, the Houthis are all, when we say that Israel was attacked by Hamas, they were also attacked by the Houthis. Their attack didn't mean very much either. They were drones and missiles, and they were intercepted. But still, it required thousands of people to go to shelters. It may. I don't have the full statistics yet. I hope there are no casualties, and there probably were some injuries. So this isn't without consequence. Israel's handling it in Hamas, and we're handling it we're bombing Yemen every day, and we're going to bomb them until they stop. And I hope we bomb them until we take all capacity away from them, not just they stop. How about they stop and they can't do it again? That might be the better end goal. Maybe it's more diplomatic to say when they stop. But the reality is we're hitting all the targets in Yemen that we should have been hitting for 2 years. And had we had hitting them, there'd be some Americans alive today that Biden had killed. and there'd be some Americans that had use of their bodies and their brain that don't, because Biden would never do it. Shouldn't they be prosecuted for that? Isn't that treason? I mean, when they're attacked, you say, well, war, treason requires war. I don't know. When they're hitting your ships and they're hitting your soldiers, that's not war. And you're not doing anything about it? And you're the president of the country. Aren't you a traitor? I think you are. But we've had a lot of Democratic traitors like that. You know, when Clinton used to hit the empty fields and it led to bin Laden taking out almost 3,000 Americans. The Democrat should be in their platform. Should be in platform. If you, one of the things you vote for a Democrat for is that Americans could get killed without much of a response. That would be one of the things that you get. Boys can go into girls' rooms. Good stuff like that, you know, really good stuff. Your children's sex can be changed without telling you if you go to Tampon Tim's, Minnesota.
All right, before getting too far down the rabbit hole here, so the 2-month deadline apparently runs from March 5th when the letter was delivered. So 2 months from that, May 5th-ish.
Okay. March 5th. We got a way to go.
Yeah.
It's interesting how we're just now sort of developing this story.
Right. I agree.
So now there's an article in the you know, the wall. He can't do right by the Wall Street Journal. If he doesn't respond, he's an isolationist.
Right.
If he does respond, he's breaking his promise not to start a forever war.
Right.
I seriously doubt we're going to have a forever war with the Houthis.
Yes.
I think that forever. We do not intend to occupy them.
Yeah.
We intend to destroy them.
Right.
There'd be nothing to occupy.
Well, they got some oil there.
Yeah, so we'll go take the oil.
Well, yeah, there you go.
The president.
So that'd be good. But I mean, the reality is we got these people.
But I will say that the Yemeni Americans in our community, a lot of them did come out for Trump. The Yemeni American pack in Michigan.
Well, they probably are refugees.
Yeah, they don't like the Houthis. That was the big thing.
Right.
I mean, why would you?
Right.
And they have, in fact, I mean, there is a legitimate reason to destroy them. They have, in fact, disrupted international shipping and killed innocent people, including Americans. So something has to be done about them. Something also has to be done about domestic terrorism. So when you hear about how Soros is supporting with money the efforts against Tesla and the efforts against some of the judges, and isn't he supporting terrorism? Isn't what they're doing to Tesla terrorism? Do you want the definition of terrorism? Let's try it. Let's see if it fits. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. So you go to a Tesla dealership and you burn the car. That's use of violence, right? It's done to intimidate, right? It's done against civilians. And it's the political aim is to stop Elon Musk from cutting out, forget the abuse and waste, the fraud that the Democrats have been doing forever in our federal government to the tune of billions of dollars. Isn't that a terrorist group? You're damn right it's a terrorist group. And isn't somebody giving them money supporting a terrorist group? You're damn right it is. I don't know. He's too old to arrest. And if you arrest him, you got to put leg irons on him like you did with Peter Navarro, right? And he could run. And if the kid were involved, now, and a couple more of that, whatever they call themselves, there may be a RICO case against him.
You're talking to the Soros?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, his offices in India were raided.
The
Soros offices in India were raided recently. That was a developing story yesterday.
But India did that.
India did it, yes.
Well, he's probably cheating the hell in India. The guy has stolen everywhere. Eastern Europe, he raped Eastern Europe. And he put in these phony special prosecutors who really covered up his own cases. And under the guise of these countries are corrupt, we're going to make them honest. He put in his special prosecutors, and the first thing his special prosecutor did was dismiss all the cases against Soros. Plus, he has all these NGOs. Oh, they sound great. Non-government organizations. Gets a lot of his money from them to use to get cops killed. Biggest donator to the biggest cop killing organization in the world, Black Lives Matter. Biggest donator to the crooked DAs, about 80 of them who have gotten more black people killed than any group probably since slavery or Reconstruction. If you're black and you have any willingness to take a look at it, you could say the guy who's killed more blacks in the last 10 years have been responsible for it.
Is responsible for the most.
Yeah,
certainly.
Without any doubt. Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, Little Rochester, big
It's
St.
funny.
Louis.
The areas where he has people, some of them are quite surprising, like some obscure areas. You'd expect the big ones, but
There's usually a reason. I mean, one reason it became obvious in 2020, he had DAs in the places where all the protests took place and nobody went to jail. So he funded the DA, he funded the protest, and he was able to make sure his employees, the protesters, didn't go to jail.
Right.
But the worst part is they release criminals. We showed the Cuomo. The effect of the Cuomo laws that put something like 485% more criminals on the street. Those are the laws that he supports, and those are the laws that he has his DAs aggressively enforce. Philadelphia, record homicides 2 years in a row. Thank you, Soros, for getting all those people killed in Philadelphia, 70 to 80% of which were black. Thank you, George. Good guy. You're doing the same thing like you did with your friends when you were a Jewish kid, we don't know Holocaust. And you were proud of that. Yep, George was proud of that.
Yeah. Crazy. Talk about it.
Some good news. St. John's is going to be in the first of all, they're the Big East champs in basketball. Number two, they're the number 2 seed in the tournament. That leads to the Final Four. Been a long time since Columbia has been a great, that St. John's been a great basketball power. But with Patino here now, it looks like they're on their way. Looks like they're on their way. And if you like ladies basketball, Columbia Ivy League champ Lions are 23-6. And they have no men on the team, which is why they're allowed to play, as far as I'm concerned. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on it right now because it's not right upon us, but we're going to spend a little time on the bracket because everybody likes that.
Well, it is upon us, man. The games are happening as we speak.
Yeah, but the early ones are too confusing for me, so you explain them to me.
They are. So and again, so we're talking about this having not
We
watched
don't-
any of the action.
And we don't have a big enough, we'll get you a big chart that we can put up when we explain this, but so right now they have 2 different tournaments, right? What do they call it? They have, they're divided in 2.
That's right.
With the East and the South.
Well, they actually have.
Oh.
Go ahead.
They have the
4
East,
regions.
the Midwest, the West, and the South.
That's right. So, so you have of
Duke
course
is number 1 in the East. St.
6
John's number 2.
That's right. So in the men's tournament, you have Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston as the 1 seeds. Of course, the tournament starting today, Thursday, March the 20th, and it will go on now for
So today, they're playing today?
today and tomorrow is the first round. So you
Okay.
start with 64 teams, and then that comes, and within the next 2 days, they'll have that down to 32. And then
This weekend will be down to what?
by the end of the weekend, we'll be down to, I believe,
4 and 4?
16. So we'll go from 64 down to 32, and from 32 down to 16 by Sunday night.
So
by Monday morning, it'll be
So
16. We'll have the Sweet 16.
But wait. Oh, the first round.
first and second rounds-
Some of them have played already. Auburn, which was number 1, played St. Francis of
Nope.
Alabama 16.
Nope, they play the winner of that game. That game had already happened so they actually have 68 teams. They have 4 play-in games now. So you start with traditionally it's 64 teams, right?
Well, tonight,
Now they've added
tonight
4.
at 7:25, which couldn't be over yet, Texas A&M is playing Yale.
That's right. And we're not checking because, Mayor, I can say I haven't seen a lick of the scores or the action. So after the show tonight, we can fill out our brackets not knowing what had happened, and I can still maintain the integrity of my selections.
I have to do this before I know who won anything?
Yes.
And
And
what do
which
I
we are still at that point. As of right
what do I
now,
have to
you and I
fill in
have watched.
do I have to fill in everything?
Yes. You're filling out the bracket. There's
I did this once a long time ago. I don't
While
remember
talk
it
about
when
it, I'll bring
Manhattan.
it up here.
I did it when Manhattan was in the. I have a pencil around here somewhere. I can start doing it.
Yeah, you can start doing it because the point is right now.
You know what?
You're going to want a thin pencil because, as you can see, there's a lot. So I'm going to pull it up here for our viewers so they can kind of follow along with us to the degree possible.
So, like, I'm just going to give you the why this might be interesting. So they have here the South. Auburn 1 plays St. Francis 16. So the best one plays the weakest one. So that one you figure the best one's going to win. But here's what they do to you with the second one here. The second one is going to be at 12:15. It's over already. I don't know who won. Louisville and Creighton, and they are 8 and 9.
Right.
Okay. So this has got to just be a guess.
Right. Well, I'm gonna can we?
And by the way, every once in a while,
can we bring it up on the
Yeah, we
keep
will
talking.
eventually. I'm not going to do it now because we have a lot of news to cover. But eventually, here's how you're going to get screwed. Underdogs win in the first round, maybe 1 or 2. But what do you got? The first round, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 on just on one side, right?
Right.
So among those 16 in the South and West, you're going to end up with some underdogs winning.
That's right. And if you look,
And it's hard, I haven't followed this season. Some season I follow more than others, so I couldn't tell you much right now. And so when I fill this out, Mayor, when we fill these out after the show, I'm going to be basing a lot of it off of traditional powerhouses, right? Like Duke being a 1 seed, it's a good bet. And then I'm biased.
I'm going to do it before, as soon as we finish.
Yeah. So then, and
I want to tell people this one story because you know how much I care about dogs. Allison Agatha Lawrence, 57, is a witch. She was traveling in Florida at the Orlando International Airport, one that many of you know, I'm sure. I know Steve knows it well, right? And you go to Orlando quite a bit, don't you, to get to Tampa? Oh, no, you go to Tampa. Yeah. I've been on the Orlando airport many times. She was told that her dog couldn't go on the flight. So now, let's say you have a dog. They don't tell you what kind of dog it is. They say pup. It had to be a pup. I don't know why the dog couldn't go on a flight. If it's a pup, they usually let them hold it in your thing.
give it to me.
You know what she did? She drowned the dog in the restroom. I got to believe she drowned him in maybe she flushed him down the bowl or put his face in the water and killed. That's a murderer. She was told by TSA that she did not have the proper paperwork to bring her dog on the December 16th, 2024 flight. Instead of calling someone to pick up the pup, she took the dog to a restroom and drowned it. We don't have a picture of Allison Agatha Lawrence, but we'll endeavor to get one. Was she a beaut? Is that the little doggy? It's a tiny, it looks like a puppy, right? Oh my God, look at that woman.
that's a video of her being told she can't bring it up.
My goodness. I know. It's only a dog, people.
Wait, she drowned it in the bathroom?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, could she have?
Yeah, what did you guys? Yeah,
Well, I mean, you could
she
drown her in
killed the dog in the bathroom and then
Did she
threw it
flush
away.
it? Did she flush the dog down?
No, she threw it away in a trash can.
Oh, I thought she drowned it. She said they drowned it.
She drowned it, but she couldn't. The toilets.
Yeah.
You can't
so she
fit it
drowned
through.
it, and then she
Yeah.
put it in the.
Discarded it in a
She
trash.
killed it, and then she put it in.
Yeah.
Why did she just leave it there?
It is pretty bizarre.
Isn't it? I mean, yeah, and Christy Nome was not allowed to be VP after doing something like that, like
Well, that's a lot very different.
different
Christy
situation.
Nome,
Christy Nome,
that's just a maybe
bad dog. It was allegedly
it's a
bad.
question about putting it in your. Why would you put it in a book, right?
This is
woman-
not
Yeah.
not a dog that bit anybody. This is not a dog that has rabies. This is not a dog. And plus, there's plenty. I mean, nobody's going to take the dog from her. But all she has to do is go in the bathroom and lock and just leave the dog there and walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many
No, she's
people
being
saving
charged.
dogs.
She's been arrested.
But I don't understand why she had to kill the dog. Just go outside. I mean, don't even go outside so the dog doesn't get hit by. If you leave that dog in the restroom, put it in the the special restroom for families where nobody goes in that often. Put the dog in there. Somebody will go in there and save the dog and turn it over to a rescue. Look like I'll take the dog. Damn it. I want a dog.
To TSA. Well, they probably wouldn't take it, but
I would take it.
yeah.
It looks like a nice dog.
Yeah, like you said, at the very least,
As
let it
long as
go.
we're
Let it
talking
go.
about
Let it go.
dogs, we should talk about the new Disney desecration, Snow White. Snow White and no dwarfs, because you can't say dwarfs. In fact, I have to say, and I'm going to borrow this from Johnny Oleksinski, who is the great movie critic for the New York Post. His beginning line is classic. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the laziest of them all? Disney. You know why? They just redid their very first movie. They went back to 1937 to dig up Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But now you can't say dwarfs. So they don't have dwarfs. And they don't have animation. It was considered like a people study it for animation, right? So nobody's going to study this other than the fact that the Ziegler woman is a hateful creature who plays Snow White. You can't have a hateful creature playing Snow White. But in any event, Ziegler has made an absolute idiot out of herself with the statements that she's made. The only thing that would be of any interest to me first of all, of course, there's no prince that saves her because men don't do things like that. Men are just, women are heroes and men are sissy boys.
Well, and how can she consent if she's asleep, right? To the kiss.
Who?
Snow White.
Oh, nothing happened. Her love interest here is not a prince. He's a pauper, and he's a robber and a thief, but a Robin Hood style thief. So he steals from the rich to give to the poor. Sounds like a typical excuse from a Democratic professional criminal. And then, because there's no prince, what's the best song in Snow White that's been world famous?
Oh,
No. Someday my prince will come.
Oh, yes, that one.
Ain't no prince. Someday my pauper, who's a robber, will come. Someday my robber will come. And he steals from whoever he wants to give to the poor.
He's actually a transgender migrant.
Someday my TDA will come. I don't care how many he raped.
Ridiculous.
No, someday my prince will come. But the real question is, what happens to the dwarfs? According to Johnny, in an out-of-their-mind choice, Disney has animated the septet of miners into creepy lawn gnomes. Ostensibly people, the guys look more fake than the smiling squirrels and birds in the forest. So they have some kind of dwarfs in here, but they are people.
They're AI, right? Aren't they AI? That's what people were telling us. They're not AI.
Well, they are somewhat. They may be AI. They're semi-animated.
Well, they're using. Okay, so maybe that's just one of the 10 million things they're saying. Oh, we use AI to do this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it time for Disney to fold up? Or should we send it to China where they like to? Why don't we isolate them to China so they can corrupt the Chinese people?
Well, Mayor,
Don't tempt them with a good time.
well, it actually raises some very disturbing questions for you as a parent and for Stephen and I as children. If we look back at the Disney movies of the 90s, was there any wokeness there? Or I don't know, did you watch a lot of Disney movies with your kids? Well, that's the question. I'm starting to wonder if I should have ever been exposed to Disney.
No.
I certainly will. If I ever have kids, I will not be. I will
I
not be.
was never
more focused on traditional.
We're kids. We don't know.
The only thing, I mean, I like Bambi.
Right, he couldn't.
I like Bambi, and I blame Lyme disease on Bambi. I do. I blame Lyme disease on Bambi. The only reason we have Lyme disease, nobody wants to kill deer because they all think they're Bambi, and they're walking around ready to kill you with Lyme disease. And
Well, come to
Come to Michigan. We don't feel that way.
how about this? How about the number of people they killed?
That's New York for you.
With them on the road, and I used to live out in Southampton, and you'd get. I mean, I had
My friend and I hit
I had a young man killed like that.
Didn't even think
I
about it.
had another friend who was neurologically seriously impaired by Lyme disease, and then I had this one night. One day I'm going into my golf course, and there's this woman on the side of the road, and she's petting this deer and taking care of this deer. And the deer had been hit, and she wanted to help the deer. And we went over. We told her to stop. Well, she eventually got Lyme disease. These are walking disease creatures. They're pretty, but I mean, well, you got to be aware of. Well, never mind. But in any event,
Disney caused Lyme disease.
it's because everybody saw that wonderful little Bambi, and they're so sweet, they're so nice, they're so wonderful. Let me touch them. Oh, I got Lyme disease now. I can't see. AOC, did you know that AOC dislikes Tom Homan?
Yes.
And do you know what Tom Homan said? I take pleasure in the fact I can live in her mind rent-free every day. I love that Homan. Meanwhile, they caught a really big illegal alien who was wanted for 20 years, and they arrested her in Denver, the home of the baby mayor and Governor Feliz Navidad, who didn't have any illegals except per capita the most in the country, even as compared to New York. So they got rid of this.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
Wouldn't you figure you could take advantage of him? Yeah, I would. I would definitely figure I could take advantage of that guy. I don't know how I'm going to get to see that portion of Snow White that shows me the septet of the little guys, but not the big thing. There's a mayoral candidate in my old city, New York, whose name is Zohran Mamdani. I've been arrested a few times. He was arrested at a pro-Palestinian rally outside of Senator Schumer's house in October of 2023, right after the October 7 attack. In other words, right after the October 7 attack, he showed great sympathy for the rapists, the murderers, the people who planned an attack exclusively on civilians. He's running for mayor of New York with a lot of money. He was raised in New York. He believes in free buses, free childcare, no rent, and city-run grocery stores. He's raised $1 million. Man, am I glad I left New York. He is, of course, very much against the detention of Mahmoud Khalil, who is like him a big supporter of the people who are dedicated to killing Jews and to killing us, Americans, which I would think would disqualify him as a mayoral candidate. He's in favor of defunding Israel, which would destroy the state of Israel, which happens to be our strongest ally. Sounds like not even American. Are you allowed to say that? I mean, if you support the destruction of basically the only trustworthy ally we have, except maybe Japan, Israel. Oh, I would say Taiwan and North Korea too. Italy, Hungary, Poland. I was going to give you a list before of South Korea. I think I mentioned that, but yes, SOCO. Adams has taken a pretty good shot at Cuomo with the fact that you're the cause of all our problems. It's true. It's true. I don't know if you're for Adams or you're for Cuomo, but if Adams says that the single guy most responsible for the incredible rise in crime in New York, which Adams has reduced somewhat, it's Cuomo, who will lie completely about it. Between now and Election Day, I have a suggestion. Everything that Cuomo says, the opposite is true. The best way to analyze the election. If he says, I had nothing to do with the 15,000 dead people that they say I killed, he's responsible for it. If he says, I had nothing to do with the passage of the bail law that has put anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 dangerous criminals on the street permanently in New York, that are the main reason that people are getting killed, murdered, raped, subways are terrible. He was the guy who signed it. If he tells you, I had nothing to do with the parole laws that have now let 42 since 2019 cop killers back out on the street, he was the guy who supported it and signed it. So now the women thing I don't get into, but I mean, if you use that formula, 12 women said he abused them, and he says no. What's his record for credibility? But he's a Democrat. They get away with that. But we never hear from the one that Biden abused. I mean, she just disappeared. I mean, no, it meant nothing.
Well, Mayor, we do have some breaking news in New York City tonight. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has named someone you know very well, Randy Mastro, as first deputy mayor.
Excellent choice. He was my first deputy mayor. Couldn't have a better choice. This comes after he was rejected as a corporation counsel for all the worst reasons. Randy Mastro is, first of all, I know Randy since he was a baby. I hired him as assistant U.S. attorney, and he handled one of my most important cases, and that was the civil seizure of the Teamsters Union, which is much, much bigger than you think, because it allowed us over a period of time to wrest control of Las Vegas from the mob, from the Teamsters Central States Pension Fund. It allowed us to completely reform the Teamsters Union. And whatever you think of the Teamsters Union today, ain't no mafia control, and there ain't no mafia control in Las Vegas. Randy Mastro led that team. And then when I became mayor, Randy Mastro became first my chief of staff and then my first deputy mayor. And he led me to infuse into New York law a lot of the things we did at the U.S. Attorney's Office. For example, we set up a commission to drive the mob out of the sanitation business, a multi-billion-dollar business. It became a 30% break for all stores in New York, 30% less paying for sanitation. When I ran for re-election in 1997, we advertised a 30% mob tax break. Randy Mastro helped to do that, along with Rudy Washington, my other erstwhile deputy mayor. We reformed the Fulton Fish Market. we kicked the mob out. The day we passed the legislation, they tried to burn the market down and kill people there. That didn't stop us. We still kicked them out. They're out. They're gone. And when I went there, at Rudy Washington's request, Randy had actually taken off already, for which I will hold him responsible. I'm kidding. Rudy said, you can go to the market now and they'll be very happy. The minute we arrived at the market, in my 52 hours straight Randy Mastro is the guy that I asked to go upstairs at Avery Fisher Hall and tell one Yasser Arafat to get the hell out of my concert. And along with Bruce Teitelbaum, they did it. So, Mayor Adams, you made a hell of a choice. You couldn't have found a better person to do this. And this is not at all, I mean, it would be personal. It isn't. It's all, I mean, you really, of all the people you could have picked, there's nobody better. He succeeded Peter Powers, who was my first deputy mayor and my campaign manager, my closest friend, or one of my two closest friends. And Peter, of course, has died. And he'd been the only one that would have been as good or better to do this. I had an exceptional staff, for which I gained tremendous accolades, and I've never once been fooled by that. And when I tell people, for example, when the Queen granted me a knighthood, I said, I stand on the shoulder of giants. And I think the Queen believes that I was being falsely modest. I wasn't. It was absolutely truthful. And she said to me, you're a giant too, and a hero. And people see you that way. And it was very nice that she said that. And I would assume, because if somebody said that to me, I'd assume they're being falsely modest. There are things that they're totally immodest about. I mean, things that I did completely by myself. I'll tell you them too. I needed those people. Adams needs it. And I don't know where we're going with Adams. And I mean, he's got no money and he's got no this and he's got no that. And we're headed to a truly, truly terrible mayoralty. If it is Cuomo. This guy is... look what he did to the governorship. It's all true. It's all true. So if you let's see, what are the last things we got to get through here, so I can let people.
We got through quite a bit, man.
I think we got through almost everything. I'm going to show you my board. Might as well. Why sneak around? So here's my board for the two shows. So the first thing was Trump dismantling DOE. We did that. Trump going after the courts, and the courts going after Trump. Who's going to straighten out the constitutional imbalance? I hope Trump does. Trump going after the Marxists. University of Pennsylvania, he hit him with 175 million, sorry. And Columbia looks like it's caving in because they want their money back. I don't think they're getting it all back, but they better cave in because they're the worst. Ted and I take credit for this, and we want a percentage because we named them the #1 Jewish-hating university in the country a year and a half ago. Ukraine is back in the good graces of Donald J. Trump. He is now putting pressure on Putin to make a deal. He's giving them more military aid than they were getting before. He's also suggesting that we become partners in their nuclear reactors, which would make it really hard for Russia to start hitting them. The JFK papers turn out to be a big wash since they cast no light on the #1 suspect. And the Times used it as an opportunity to criticize Trump for Trump or whoever did it for putting out some Social Security numbers. Khalil Babuba is protesting that he's being kept in Louisiana. And a judge, I believe, is illegally stopping the administration from sending him back to where he belongs. I think the president has pretty much unfettered authority to throw anyone out who's not a citizen, who is saying things that are detrimental to the United States. And supporting Hamas that wants to kill Americans is detrimental to the United States. Also, that wants to kill Jews. We got a lot of American Jews, pal. And they happen to also be our biggest ally. You don't go around talking about wanting to kill our biggest ally and expect that we're going to give you the privilege of staying here, Khalil. Get the hell out of here. Israel is now making sure that Hamas is finished off. America is beating the crap out of Yemen. We should have been doing it for a year and a half because they've been killing us. But our traitor president did shit. The effort against Tesla and the relatives of Elon Musk and even Amy Comey Barrett's relatives are being threatened. That's domestic terrorism. Let's find out how much of it is being funded by George, the man who's been responsible indirectly for the murder and death of more blacks than anyone in this century. Sports, St. John's is back. Illegal aliens. They picked up the top alien in Denver and brought her in. We got a woman who drowned a dog. We got a Snow White that's. Tomorrow night we're going to cover the wealthy universities. We're going to have a special guest to go on, and we covered the New York mayor's race for the first time in a long time. We covered everything. And the one about the universities being very wealthy, I want to put off until tomorrow night. Yeah. We're going to get somebody who really knows a lot about it, because these universities are we got a lot of things to straighten out, but we have to straighten out our educational system and our communications, because that's what educates our people. That's what has them running around like chickens without a head, supporting murderers like Hamas. I mean, in your day, in my day, if you're anywhere near my age, you'd had a lot of protests, in favor of civil rights or against the Vietnam War, for the Vietnam War. You never had protests in favor of cold-blooded killers. This would be like Joe Colombo protesting discrimination against the mafia when he was the head of a mafia family. Right. Always have to analogize it to something you know. So we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be back on Lindell TV at 7, also X at 7. That's the Rudy Giuliani show. Then we'll be back here on America's Mayor live at 8 on X. Our audiences have been growing tremendously. See if you can help us grow even more, because we want to grow even more. And we want to start including other people, because we want to see if we can, even by the time we get to the midterm, we got an equal voice with the communists, the Marxists, the creeps, and the censors, who give you absolutely false news for an ulterior motive. We do the best we can to try to dig all that out. We have allies, but I think it could be better organized. So we're trying to work on that, and we need your help. So you follow us on. Will you see that little follow sign on X? Hit that thing. If you can subscribe, that's even better. But the follow sign costs you nothing. Subscription, a few bucks. It would help us a lot to grow. If we grow, free speech grows. We're part of it. No, I think more than a small part. That kind of part. Well, not this part, but that part. Well, again, pray for the people of Israel. They're being bombed again by the animals. Pray for the people of Ukraine who've been held hostage by two people, Putin and Zelensky, who don't really give a damn about them. And they finally have someone who gives a damn about them. So let's hope he can get it done. Let's pray for the people of Iran, who I think are close to being liberated. I'd just like to see it move faster. And of course, the people of America, I think Instead of praying for us, let's pray to you, God, and thank you for what you've done for us. You've given us everything that we need to be enormously successful. It's really up to us to use it. It's like Kennedy said, on earth, the work of God is truly our own. And you've made it possible for us to develop the greatest country on earth and to lead the world, not in a way that we dominate them. We don't want to own anything. We just want to help you. Trump wants to make Canada a state to help them. I'm against it. I don't want another Democratic state. God bless America. See you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock right here on X. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,